Hello and welcome. Today I will be making a version of an Eduardo's deep dish pizza. It is a Chicago style pizza that I've never made before. I've found a recipe online that I'm adopting a little bit. It will be gluten-free. Hopefully it's gonna be delicious. What we're gonna start off with is you're gonna want a food processor mixer with the kneading palette on there. And we'll be starting off with the dry ingredients. Now we're starting off with our dry ingredients in the food processor. In here, I've got 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose gluten-free flour and 2 tablespoons of cornmeal, 1 teaspoon, a heaping teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of yeast, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of sugar. And then I'm going to give that a quick blend to make sure it's well incorporated. Now that everything is well incorporated, you're going to want to take butter, salted butter. I've got 4 tablespoons of salted butter that I've cut in half again. Basically, I've quartered it, and then I've quartered that. And I'm just going to lay that into the flour mixture. Just kind of try and evenly distribute it as much as possible. And then we will blend that and incorporate the butter into the flour mixture. Now that the butter is incorporated into the flour mixture, you're going to want to slowly pour room temperature water into it as you're mixing it. Now it's going to be, I'm going to eye it. The original recipe with regular flour called for 1/2 to 2/3 of a cup. I've got a cup of water here. Sometimes gluten-free flour needs a little bit more moisture to it, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, now that it's well incorporated, you're gonna wanna roll it into a ball. Basically has the consistency of a cookie dough at this point. Now I don't know if that's right or not, but we're gonna find out. So, okay, then after you have it in a ball, you're gonna wanna take it, put it into a greased bowl, and then it's olive oil, and spray a little layer of olive oil onto the dough. And then you're gonna wanna cover it and let this sit and rise for 1 hour. Now while the dough is rising, we will prepare our sauce. So to a saucepan, I have 2 teaspoons of extra virgin olive oil. And to that, now in here, in this napkin or paper towel, I have minced onion, fresh minced onion. I did mince it in the food processor, and then I put it in here to get all that extra juice out so that the onion flavor does not overpower the sauce. And you're gonna wanna saute that on a low to medium heat. And then to the onion, after you incorporate it a little bit, to the onion, you're going to want to add 3 cloves of garlic, minced garlic, or roughly 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. And then saute that and mix that together with the onion. do this for about 2 to 3 minutes. Now to your onion and garlic mixture, you're going to want to add 1 can of crushed tomatoes. This is, I believe, 28 ounces. Whoops. That was the cover. Not a big deal. So stir your onions and garlic into the mixture to incorporate. Now, after you add your can of crushed tomatoes, you're going to want to add a heaping 1/4 cup of tomato paste. Now, basically what I just figured out is it works out to be about a half of one of those tiny little cans of tomato paste. So half of one of these. This is 6 ounces, so roughly 3 ounces of tomato paste. Drop that in. Give that a quick stir to try and incorporate that a little bit. And once that's well incorporated, you're going to want to add your dry ingredients. Now the dry ingredients I've got here are a mixture of 1 teaspoon of oregano, dry oregano leaf, a half a teaspoon of salt, and 2.5 teaspoons of sugar. And just shake that in, and then give that a stir. And then once that's all incorporated, you're going to want to mix it up, bring it up to a simmer, cover it, and simmer it for about 20 minutes, basically until it comes to the proper consistency. Now it's been about a half an hour for the sauce and 60 minutes for the dough. So this is what the dough is looking like. Not much different, honestly. It's kind of looking like it's drying out, so I hope it is going to work. What I'm going to do is spray another layer of olive oil on it, cover it, and put it in the fridge to bring that butter back down to refrigerator temperature. And I'm actually going to cook the sauce a bit longer. It still looks a little too juicy. Now it's been about an hour. Actually, I should say an hour and a half. And now we want to roll out our dough, or attempt to. So first we're going to prepare our workstation here with a little flour. And then we'll put our dough down, sprinkle it a little bit more. Okay, roll up the sleeves here and see what we're working with. Okay, it's gonna be a little bit crumbly, and I believe it's because of that gluten-free flour. So I don't think it's gonna roll like a normal dough does. We'll just kind of work it here and see what happens. Yeah, it's just going to continue to break. So what we will do, we're going to just put it right into a prepared pan and kind of spread it out and work it up. I'm just trying to work it here to see if it's going to come together at all, or if it's going to just continue to break. And the reason it does this with gluten-free, because gluten is like glue. And when you don't have it, dough doesn't react like normal dough. So yeah, it's just going to continue to keep spreading like that. And then when you go to pick it up, it just kind of tears. It's not like regular dough that will stretch. So I'm just going to work with it a little bit here, and then I'll show you how we'll put it into the pan. Okay, I just worked up the dough a little bit. What we're going to use is a 12-inch skillet. It's a non-stick skillet. It's a little bit of a better skillet. You can put this in the oven. And the reason I'm using this as opposed to a cast iron pan, just from my research on how these pizzas work, with a cast iron pan, the bottom doesn't heat up as quickly as the sides, so you may not get an even cook, or you have to cook it longer. So we're gonna take this and we're going to put olive oil in it and get it all over the sides, which will help it not only get that crispiness to the crust, but also keep it from sticking. I know it is a non-stick pan, however, we want to ensure it remains that way. And I'm just evenly spreading it around. I may have gotten a little bit too much, so I may get a paper towel to just absorb some of it. So let's evenly get this done. I'm going to take a little bit of the olive oil out, and then we'll spread out the dough. Now we're going to take the dough and just spread it out and work it around the pan. Just kind of pushing it and evenly getting it around the pan. Don't want any high spots or low spots. And just, I'm showing how I'm doing it, and then I will show what the finished product looks like. Okay, here is the product after having the dough spread out into the pan. Now, I've done gluten-free pizzas before, just regular pizzas and pizza crust. They were pre-packaged. This is the first time I've ever done one from scratch. You know, ones where you would just add egg and oil and then do it. I made this totally from scratch, as you've seen, and what I'm going to do is put it in my preheated oven at 400 degrees before I put any toppings in it. And I'm going to bake this for probably 5 to 10 minutes maybe. Just kind of par bake it, and then I'll put the toppings in like you would a normal Chicago style pizza, and we'll go from there. Okay, here's the par bake crust. To this, we're going to add 1 pound shredded mozzarella, and spread that out evenly. And then to the mozzarella cheese, we will layer on pepperoni. Spread those out evenly, one at a time. And just go clockwise or the other way, working your way from the outside in. Now that's how the pepperoni should look. Then we're going to take the sauce and ladle that on. And we're going to use all the sauce. So distribute it as evenly as possible with the ladle. And then we'll spread that out with the back of the ladle. And I'll show you what that looks like when I'm all finished. Now here's what it looks like before we take it over to the oven. Now we're gonna bake it in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes at 400 degrees. Okay, here's what it looks like coming out of the oven. I baked it for approximately 40 minutes. And then I let it rest for another 10 minutes. Now I'm just going to sprinkle it with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, just to give it that little extra punch of flavor, and it makes it look nice for the presentation. How's that look for a delicious pizza? I slid it out of the pan and cut it. So let's see what we got here. Ooh, a little bit of stretch. Looks pretty good. Let's see what it tastes like. It's pretty good. Like, subscribe, hit the thumbs up for this delicious gluten-free pizza. God bless.